Okay. This is gonna be episode 2 of my video series where I'm trying to figure out how I was able to overcome a period of depression in my life and build up to where I am today. And this is not to make the allegation that my life is in any sense perfect, but simply that I was able to overcome something that it seems to me many people, even amongst my peers, struggle with. So, I came prepared today. And so, what we have here, actually, before I say what this is, I'm going to give a preamble. In 2017, I had just started consuming podcasts. And one of the only podcasts, pretty much the only podcast I listened to at the time was the JRE. This is the Joe Rogan Experience for those of you, few as you may be, who don't know. In that time, Joe Rogan was having a bunch of comedians, a bunch of scientists, a bunch of, thinkers who are wild. And I loved the podcast because I always completed an episode feeling much smarter than I was going in. But there was one particular episode that put me on a trajectory that will eventually change my life. I don't know what the episode number was, but the guest was the great and powerful Jordan B. Peterson. Now, back then, he was a relatively unknown professor from the University of Toronto. I had never heard the name. Maybe if you are North American, you knew of Jordan Peterson. But coming from Kenya and living in Japan at the time, I had heard nothing of the man. And so, most of my consumption of podcasts was passive. I wasn't paying attention. I was just listening as I worked, listening as I cycled, listening while I was in the train. But this episode was different. And the more I listened, the more I wanted to pay attention. I found myself like pausing and rewinding. Like that point, I really want to catch that point one more time. Now, this has nothing to do with the progressive versus conservative fights in the United States or Canada. This was about the lessons that Jordan Peterson had to offer to the public. Some of these lessons were codified in his book, 12 Rules for Life. And so these are what my recollection I came to call the 7 life areas. Now, these are number 1, education and learning. Number 2, mental and physical health. Number 3, career or meaningful work. Number 4, regulation of destructive behaviors. Number 5, a hobby. Number 6, an intimate relationship. And number 7, family life. Now, I don't actually recall if the order matters, but this is just how I remember it to be. Why do I bring up this thing? This lists, maybe you can even call them maybe the Jordan Peterson 7 steps. He did not say that. I am making that allegation myself. So the reason I bring this up is because these are the areas of people's lives that we put a lot of our effort into. No? Just think of education. If you are a North American, you were in school, assuming you didn't drop out, for at least 12 years, right? Same for me in Kenya, I think it's the same for Japan as well. And then you go on into higher learning if you choose to follow that path. But even if you don't go to school, you're always trying to learn something. Now, that something can be a trade, a skill, whatever the case may be. We are always trying to learn something. And Jordan Peterson made the argument that the individual should attempt to achieve a level of education that their cognition allows for. Now, if you have an IQ of 140, I do not have an IQ of 140, you should try to pursue an education that matches that. Now, this is just what I recall Jordan Peterson saying. I could be off because it's been a very long time since I read the book. Secondly, mental and physical health. Now, here, what are some practices to encourage mental health? In my case, this is talking to friends. It's going to church. It's meditation. Now, this depends on you. Maybe it's seeing a therapist, a psychiatrist, a psychologist. I don't know. Mental health is key. It is foundational, right? Then we have physical health. What do you do? What can you do? Now, something occurred, as far as I remember, it was around between 2016 and 2019, I had stopped using Instagram. And before I stopped, I remember Instagram being a place where people just posted cool videos or cool pictures, right? And I was doing the same. When I got back onto Instagram in 2019, there were influencers on Instagram. And I was wondering, what's this? What's all this, right? And what I saw the most, at least in my feed, was, people obsessed with physical health. But in that sense, it was basically aesthetics. Okay? And there is no way to escape the trap. If you are always consuming certain content, you're bound to be influenced by the content. And so I fell into that trap. For a while, I confused physical health with aesthetics. I wanted, the triceps. I wanted the deltoids. I wanted the six-pack. I thought having a six-pack proves that you are in fact physically healthy. Now, obviously, I don't have a six-pack anymore, but physical health and aesthetics are not synonymous. Number 3, career or meaningful work. Basically, you need a job. Otherwise, you won't eat. You won't be able to enjoy time with your friends or family, right? And people who are on a career track, in my head, I picture lawyers, doctors, people who are trying to get into the C-suites. These are people on a career path. If you're not one of these, there is always meaningful work to be had. Whatever you put effort into that produces an income and gives you some psychological or even spiritual satisfaction. Now, you need money. The point here, as far as I'm concerned, is you need money. There is no escaping this fact. Unless you have like a, what do you call it, a trust fund, you need to work so you can have money. Number 4, regulation of destructive behaviors. We have all of this. Just right now, I talked about scrolling through my feed endlessly and being influenced by the aesthetics community, right? That was one of my destructive behaviors. In the previous episode, I talked about alcohol. I have also been a heavy smoker. To this day, I still use nicotine pouches, right? Now, the question is, must you stop all of these behaviors? Ideally, yes. Ideally, Oscar shouldn't use nicotine pouches. Ideally, Oscar shouldn't spend an hour a day scrolling social media. Ideally, Oscar shouldn't eat junk food. But my experience has shown me that trying to stop everything at once leads to destruction. So the ideal thing to do is to go step by step. What is one thing that you can put effort into to stop today, right? Maybe in my case, so I have been sober for 5 years as far as alcohol is concerned. Alcohol and drugs, basically. Alcohol and illegal drugs in this country, which is Japan. And I can say maybe, I don't need to have a nicotine pouch today. can I go one day without a pouch? At this stage, it is primarily about regulation. Regulation. Unless it is actually causing you a problem that is reaching out to other people in your life, you did not quit, but you must regulate. Number 5, we all need a hobby. And I say this with utmost seriousness. We need a hobby. Picture this. You come home from your job, from your office job. It's 7 p.m. What do? This is what I have observed many people do. Drop on the couch, grab a beer, watch TV. Or drop on the couch, get a beer, drop on the couch, scroll your feed. That is a destructive behavior. Now, what a hobby does, I teach English. And sometimes when I meet students for the first time, I ask them, hey, what's your hobby? And they tell me, my hobby is watching movies. My hobby is listening to music. As far as I am concerned, those are not hobbies. As far as I am concerned, a hobby is something that you can improve in, or rather improve at, right? Your hobby can be going to the gym. You get stronger, you're improving. Your hobby can be swimming. You become a stronger swimmer. Your hobby can be writing. You become a more talented writer. Your hobby can be reading, something that you can improve at. I don't think it is possible to get better at watching TV. Maybe someone can tell me how. Number 6, an intimate relationship. This is talking about your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife. You must nurture and value this, because this is where life can be destroyed. If your intimate relationship is not stable, it will destroy your life. Now, for men, I will say having a stable, intimate relationship does not equate with constantly trying to make your woman happy. I will argue that causes great instability. And finally, family life. Your parents, your siblings, your spouse if you're married, your children if you have them. How do you interact with them? Do you keep in contact if you live at quite a distance away from each other? Do you try to express your love and gratitude to them? Do you listen? And if you notice, I'm asking about what you do, not what they do for you. Because this is primarily, at this level, this is about the individual, not about society as a whole, not about groups. Those things do matter. But this 7 life areas focuses on the individual. These are things that you can put effort into. Now, it is crazy and would be wild for me that you can get all of these things right. If I can picture my own life, I will say I probably am doing okay over here. I'm doing okay over here. I'm doing okay over here. The rest, I'm kind of struggling, right? The rest are all a work in progress. But that's the idea. Your life is a work in progress until you meet your maker. You will not get all of these things right. No one does. And if anyone is telling you that they do, that's a lie. We have places we struggle at. We have places we're doing really well at. Now, even if I can talk about mental and physical health, I will say, in this too, I am arguably stronger here than here. Even in just this level, I can see the problem in my individual life. The idea is life. Life is not necessarily linear. I mean, it is linear from birth to death, but your improvement is not linear. Consider this. You spend all your time trying to focus on physical health. And as a consequence, you might neglect your education. You spend all your time on your education and learning and getting a bigger brain, as it were. You end up neglecting your physical health. These things happen. These things will happen. And they'll keep happening, for as long as you live. The idea is to keep working on something. Because that you do not want to be stagnant and sitting in front of the screen for hours a day leads you here. Scrolling your Instagram feed for hours a day leads you here. Binge drinking leads you here. Neglecting your family leads you here. Neglecting your health here. No money here. And then we're talking about depression and anxiety. And there's no way to escape this too. Everyone is experiencing a degree of this two things. My idea, I am not an expert. My understanding is depression and anxiety are a spectrum. Today you're here, tomorrow you're here. Today you're here, tomorrow you're here. That is my understanding. Now, if you ignore the 7 life areas, you are bound to be quite depressed. You're probably anxious as well. If you make some effort, you move closer to a reasonable baseline. The idea is life isn't perfect. Your life won't be perfect. No one's life is perfect. But every day, you can make it just that little better. And with that, I'd like to say thank you for your time. I will see you again tomorrow.